because I could be on the phone with 20 different people and doing deals and doing what I'm doing. But when we're together and we could be having a conversation and I get distracted, I got to do my work, talk about work, and say, hold on, time out. What's more important, this stupid deal or my significant other that I cherish and that I have the best times of my life with?
Hey, everybody in the Owwll community on LinkedIn, on Instagram. We are live on the Owwll podcast today. This is your first time tuning in. I'm joined by my co-host, Alejandra, and these awesome guests to my left, Brad and Ali.
What's up?
Bring in amazing experts and every single week, actually, just making an impact in this world. The gentleman to my left right here, show him that tattoo. Show him the tattoo.
Right there, baby.
Trust movement only. He's making such an impact that he put it on his arm in ink.
Shit.
So we're going to be talking a lot about relationships today, because often when you run a business, relationships are hard. I'm married. I have 2 children, and I'm taking all the money I have, under the blanket everywhere, IRAs, 401ks, and I'm a financial service professional. And I'm putting all into Owwll. So as you can imagine, when it comes to your relationship and you come home, your spouse looking at you like, you're crazy. What's going on? Right. So we're going to talk a lot about that during today's episode. Before we get into that, Alejandra, TEDx was pretty cool this weekend. Tell our audience what happened.
It was awesome. Yeah, we've done some of them before, but I feel like this one we had, the ambiance was definitely the fanciest we've ever been. We had some great speakers that flew in from all over the country. We had a pre-TEDx celebration at a mansion where we got to take really cool content, VIP parties.
Podcast booth.
Yeah. For me personally, I love meeting Angela Hunt because
cool.
she wrote this song, Empire State of Mind. You guys know that.
Can you sing it for us?
Jay-Z.
You were doing it there. Come on.
Oh my God. In New York. I don't know the words. Concrete jungles are made of and you can't do.
Jumping.
Sorry, I should know the words to that. But yeah, that's a really famous song. So it was really cool to get to meet her, and she was so humble and amazing. So that was a highlight for me personally, but I think everyone had a great time. It was definitely.
Isn't it good to meet celebrities or people that, make a difference in their talent in this world, and they're good people?
Yes, it was.
And that's so rare. And I always ask, I meet a lot of people throughout this country, politicians, professional, baseball, football, you name it. And it's amazing the select few that are actually genuine and nice.
Totally.
And that's, one thing that, when it comes to, we're talking about relationships, but here, what's going on, behind closed doors, why is this person entitled to act like an asshole? You know what I mean? Or he or she, and that always bothers the fuck out of me, be honest with you, because God created everybody equal, and I look at it, money doesn't make anybody. It doesn't make the person. And I see these influencers and all these guys, and they walk around and like they're top shit. And it's interesting to me, and then all of a sudden they lose all their followers and they become, nothing again.
I find that the people who actually have the most influence or the real deal are the humble ones. And then
of course,
the ones she's someone that I'm wow, she's actually living my dream life and she's actually made it, versus the people that are still influencers and have a following, that are still trying to kind of make it, are the ones that have the egos. But the ones that have just worked hard and they understand the hustle and they get it, and they usually are willing to mentor and help people out.
They low to the ground.
They've been through cycles, right? That's the thing. They've done it for 20, 30 years.
Sure.
We've seen it in the financial service industry, right? Those people come and go with those egos.
Yeah.
They fall on their face. They spend too much money.
Yeah.
And you've seen it. And I've seen that from the Shrimp Tank podcast and the Owwll podcast. We interview so many entrepreneurs, and I sense that ego. I'm the way they're responding on emails, the way they're not saying thank you to our producer, Stephanie, after sending an email with all the content. And then there's the real ones who have been through the cycles, and typically they're over 50 or over 60 because they've been through so much. They value those relationships, and they've had tough times, right? When COVID hit, I'm sorry, but if you ran a gym, like tough luck, like you struggled, right? And those relationships mattered.
Oh yeah.
You had to switch gears quick. If you ran a restaurant, like my friend Danielle Rossi at Oceans 234, she turned in a grocery store, but she had so many close connections and she made it through while other restaurants didn't make it. So it always comes back to those relationships and being humble, like you're speaking about.
Amen.
And not for nothing, not because Brad is here, but that's one of the things that I admire the most about him. Because Brad, being as big as he is and as busy as he is, you call him at any given time and he's answering that phone call. I mean, trust movement only. I mean, even if we just talk about that alone, uh, he's spending his time where he could be at the casino, where he could be in a vacation, any given way. He's giving his time to the community at no cost. I mean, and the people that come, he's always telling them, you need a mentor, you call me at any given time, I'm here to help you. Who does that?
Explain trust movement to our audience. A lot of people in the Owwll community live in South Florida because of all the events that we do locally, and they might want to attend an event and really understand what is really happening behind the scenes.
Go, baby. I'll let
Keep
you
it going. Keep it going.
Yeah.
Well, I love Trust Movement Only. It was actually created one day. I was like, babe, you have to do this. And he was like, I know. And then one day I just created a flyer and I said, you're on today, honey. And that's it. We actually started doing Trust Movement Only, where we actually meet once a month. Brad is one of the biggest entrepreneurs here in South Florida, owned multiple business. And what we do is he gives back to the community. Once a month, we meet and we talk to them about business, personal, about relationship. Because, like you mentioned, at the end of the day, it's like you say, you put all your money into the application, but you're coming home. But that's also a relationship that you got to take care of. So I would like to talk more about the relationship.
We're gonna
kill it today.
We're gonna get deep into that.
But to answer Jay, thank you, honey. Trust movement only is what, when I was born into this world, being in business my whole life, basically when I was out of the womb, let me ask you this, Jay. What does trust movement only mean to you? What is that? Those three words?
Well, trust, right? Someone that I would feel comfortable giving my cell phone number to, right? Picking up a phone and calling, right? And feeling confident that person's going to share knowledge with me and not try to sell me on something, right?
Okay.
Trust is everything today in business.
Sure.
I mean, I joke around all the time with our team. It's like, why is it so hard to find quality individuals these days? It's like everyone's ghosting everyone. Where the hell did all the etiquette go? I come from the service industry, financial services, where like etiquette was everything. It was suit and tie, dear Mr. and Mrs. Jones, no slang on emails. Even though we wanted to, it still stayed professional. And then when we call clients, hey, Mr. Jones, how's your day going? Right? Just pure etiquette, holding the door for people.
Being on time.
Like trust. Oh, we could have a whole podcast about being on time, right? My time.
I like the word ghost now. There's the new ghost
or quiet quitting, right? It's like, well, that company doesn't do enough for me. It's like, okay, well, you're going to hurt yourself in the long run. Like that's a bunch of BS. But I just think like trust is everything today, because the second you lose someone's trust by lying to them or by, being late on a meeting and saying, oh, sorry, I was tied up in another meeting. And I'm sitting here like, I just ended my meeting or your meeting and I took your time sensitive. So time management's everything today. And trust is everything today in business. And going back to Owwll's all about relationships, which is all, when I look at most successful people, there's a huge trust factor there. Movement, going to that word is just, making an impact to this world that, most individuals that have made a substantial amount of money. And I'm probably in that category. I was fortunate to join the financial service business, do quite well for myself. And I took a turn to create Owwll and put my whole net worth and family at stake to make an impact.
There you go,
right. So movement, and you're making a movement, not charging. He left that out. He doesn't charge to come to his events. And there's no solicitations of buying a course like many people do. So movement is just like the bigger good to move humanity. And what word am I thinking? Trust
movement only.
Only, no bullshit.
No bullshit.
Only, no bullshit. That's what comes.
That was my mind was like no BS.
No people, no snakes in the door. Yeah. That's what I would say.
That's it.
The only people coming in, and that's how I define.
I want to know, I want to know, like, what are the requirements to be like? It sounds like anyone can come in that needs mentorship, but like, how do you guys decide who is a part of this group, or how do you decipher, like I want to know
Well,
what the terms are.
I can tell you this: it's not for the faint-hearted,
Yeah.
okay? Because
It's about being real.
it's a, I was just gonna,
Have to get a tattoo.
it's honestly about real meeting people,
Yeah.
and most people can't handle that,
Yeah.
especially in business. Everybody wants to become a successful entrepreneur. Everybody wants to become a millionaire,
Yeah.
but most people don't realize the sacrifice, and they're not willing to give up that sacrifice
Mm.
like I do, and like Jason does. You know what I mean? They don't understand the sacrifice, and they're afraid of it, and they don't allow it. They just won't do it.
But babe,
So
tell them what trust movement only means.
trust movement only is for me. When I started this many moons ago, is that my mouthpiece doesn't mean anything. My actions in the world
Mhm.
are everything. So when I started the companies, me and my brother, we started our companies. We were those show me guys. Literally in the insurance business, I was sitting there fronting for my agents because I'm not licensed. So I would front for my guys. And for them to see the owner doing that, and I would talk to my people. I was up like
Mm.
to this day, and Ali could attest to this. Where I go to the Hard Rock or any place, people come over, and I can't even explain, and I don't. It's not egotistical; it just is coming over to me and saying, "Brad, you have no idea that how much impact you had in my life,
Mhm.
and that you changed my life. And now that I'm an entrepreneur, now they own their own business, or
Wow.
some people are now managers, or not all in that magnitude of success of owning their own, but and it doesn't mean that they're owner of their success either. But it's what I have done throughout these years is to levitate, bring people up, not shut them down. You know what I mean? So I was always the type of owner. I always say I'm not the owner. I was always the car wash guy. I would pat somebody on the back if they're having a bad day. I would talk to them. I always had an open door policy. They could always come into my place and talk whatever it is. So
But just to answer your question, what are the requirements to get up your ass and make it? Because a lot of people think, and it is true, you can find all kinds of information on the internet, but actually to make the sacrifice to drive somewhere
Yeah.
and to meet and connect with other people and to hear it, that's actually you telling yourself that you're willing to do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can be comfortable in our couches and, look at
Zoom.
YouTube and do some meditations and all of that. But, to just to get your butt out there and just to hear somebody else that is not going to charge you anything. The only thing we ask you is to keep an open mind.
Mm.
That's it. That's
So-
all it is.
so I do expect you guys there next week when I have it.
No, I am like he knows I like love all this kind of stuff. I'm always
Going
like
on the
all at
boat
events. I love
Like
like
get on your
face to
boat. I'm a
face.
boater. We still never went boating.
So I'm like, wait, when do I sign up? But I'm curious, like how, like, say I show up right to this meeting, like, what is it? Just like it's anyone in any industry? Like, is this mental health stuff? Is it like business? Is it everything? Like, I want a little more detail of like exactly what it's about.
It's all the above.
Okay.
It really is all the above. I'll give you a little.
Sounds like it's like an AA for like business people or something. I don't know.
Well-
That's like what I'm
well, no,
picturing
hold
in my
on.
mind.
It's not only for business. We're
Yeah.
talking about relationship because it's all
And it's
connected,
free?
Jason, like you
It's a
said,
free thing?
you're coming home to your wife and
Wow.
it's all connected. Relationship. Like this is my company.
Yeah.
Right? So we have a company. I have my life coaching company. I have Brad has his own company, but this is our company. And if you're not taking care of each and every company,
You fail.
one of them is gonna fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. But so and they're all connected because if you're not doing good in this company,
Yeah.
you're definitely not doing good on the other companies. So relationship not only comes with man and wife, relationship comes with brother to brother because they're
Yeah.
business partners. Relationship, it's me and my daughter. That's our company. So it's what you're putting into that you're gonna get out of it.
Where can people go to that? Like, can you give the details if people want to come next week or like?
Absolutely. It's literally at our house.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So we'll give you the
Hit you up, I guess.
Yeah.
So
I'm like, I'm coming. I'm ready.
Yeah.
so Brad has achieved most of his goals in life.
Yeah.
And one of his goals right now is to actually help people live the life that they deserve.
Cool. I love that.
So yeah, like we were talking earlier, about, relationships and, what you want in this world, you know, and I love hearing the single mom or, the mother or the father, I live for my kids. I live for my kids.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what does that actually mean?
Yeah, break it down.
Like,
That sounds kind of sad to me.
Exactly.
So that makes me not want to have
Like,
kids. Like,
what are you
run away.
trying to tell me? You know what I mean? So you're using every excuse in underneath the book
Yeah.
to do what? You know what I mean? Like okay, so when your kids
What
are
happens when your kids go to college?
you just took that when your
Uh,
kids are 18 years old. What the fuck are you gonna why do you think, listen, and that's why it's so important about what we do and about your podcast and about Trust Movement Only. It's so important. Why do I say that? Because, not only do I put in my heart and soul
yeah.
and I give 100%, but I mean, look at what happened with the pandemic, right? Where there was the most in this world suicides,
Mm.
uh, alcoholism, drug overdoses, all, yeah, I mean, divorces.
Pain medication addictions, right? You think of all these addictions with opioids.
I like
It
honestly during
it flew off the charts.
Yeah.
Why? Because people had nowhere to go
no community. I feel like.
to divert,
Yeah.
to lose traction of really what's going on in their lives.
Yeah.
You understand? So to me, that's when we basically first met. We were together for like 3 or 4 months, and we had the best time ever in those few years of being shut down. You know what I mean? Like everything.
Same. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the best free time. Like
Yeah.
I got to reanalyze my life
Sorry.
and be like, what can I change? Like this time is a gift. Like how can I actually use this time? I thought it was going to be only a few weeks. So the whole time I was like working hardcore because I was like, I'm not going to get this back. And I want to, and then it just months on end. And I'm like, this is great. I loved it. But
again, statistics don't lie. Why people,
Yeah.
the most divorces, all the
Yeah,
things
yeah,
I just
yeah.
mentioned. And it's like, people just don't want to get it, and that's why Trust Movement Only, like I told you, like I said before, is not for the fainted hearted.
Mm.
Because if you really want to change, I can definitely, what I bring to the table of things that I've done from my career, I've worked intensively on close to 8.5 years I am two mentors that I do intensive work about so many different subjects,
Mm.
whether it's personal, business, myself, you know, it's just, you got to put the work in.
Mm.
And that's when, I tell people, like, if you're coming to Trust Movement Only and you're willing to put the work in for real, I'll give you one. I'm sorry. I can start that. And I didn't have coffee yet.
We did. That's why we're saying.
Like,
Yeah. And yeah, so real quick, I'll give you one. A lot of college students that come in, right? And this one young man tells me, but I can't even find a job.
Mm.
And he's in the financial world. And I'm like, what do you mean you can't find a job? I know as an entrepreneur, and I know a lot of my friends are entrepreneurs. We're looking
We're
for
praying for people to work.
Thank
You're
you.
like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Knock on any door, message anyone, like, come.
Key.
No one asked.
So here we go. So I'm like, I said, so you graduated? What'd you do to go get a job? And he goes, well, I filled out 28 online applications.
For him.
And I'm like,
Mm.
whoa. And he goes, what more do you want me to do? And he looks at me. I said, you don't want to go there. And I says, let me give it to you. Let me give it to you real. I said, first of all, I don't even know what the fuck online application means.
Yeah.
I said, if I want a job, I'm going to go get the job. I'm going to go to those 28 establishments, those financial institutions, and I'm going to knock on their door, and I am going to get a job with one of them. I'm going to go to the manager who's hiring. I am going to make a difference for myself.
Let's use a real example. We got one of the fastest growing companies in the world right now.
Yeah.
One of our sponsors, Celsius Beverage, right in Boca Raton, Florida. And so many people email us, hey, can you make me an introduction to Celsius? all the time.
Right.
What would you do if you wanted to work at Celsius?
I'm going to the damn owner.
What would you do? Just tell the audience.
I'm going to the owner and knocking on his damn door. If he shuts it down, I'm going to go again and go again and go again until
right to headquarters.
I'm going to tell him.
While he's walking out to his car.
And I'm going to tell him that this drink right here, you need to hire me because I'm going to better this. I'm going to make this thing worldwide. I'm going to be the hardest working person in your company. I'm going to sell myself to him.
And you're going to stand out.
Coffee. You could drink that. That will give you some.
Please don't.
Yeah.
But the truth is, if I wanted to work for them, and with social media right now, I'm posting every day and working for that company without getting paid.
Without getting paid. That's the key word. Everyone tries to get paid first.
Yes.
Like, oh, I'll start doing stuff for Celsius, but they got to pay me first. I'm like, no, do it for free.
Entitlement.
And it's this podcast today. I did the podcast for free for 3 months straight before I hired him.
That's it.
Started doing clips for free.
Yeah.
And if I look at 99 out of 100 messages I get on LinkedIn, it's always, Jason, I'd love to work with your brand. You know, here's my costs to start doing some reels for you. Or I could do a better job editing. Here's the cost. It's like, you know, no, that's solicitation. Like work for free. Show me your value. I just had someone do an app audit of Owwll. He did a 45-minute app audit video for free, which he could have charged at least $1,000, $2,000. And then the second time I hired him, out of the blue, I said, hey, I really liked what you did on that app audit. Would you do it again? But this time he had the hook. I saw the value. And too often people, I guess they're learning backwards. They go to college. They're like, your value is this, you know, make sure people pay for your value. And I'm like, you got it backwards. Right. And same thing with relationships. So let's dive deeper on that because relationships go the same way, right? All this bullshit on TikTok and Instagram. I mean, how many people are giving marriage advice that aren't married, right? Yeah. Like it's out of control. And I was like, yeah, they're well spoken.
Sure.
You know, but like, you know, what cycles have they been through, right?
Sure.
So speak about your relationship because, you know, that makes people better entrepreneurs. You know, there's studies on that. You know, kids, you know, people, you know, see the data on that, having kids, more income in the bank over time, more savings, you know, better scheduled out. So just talk about like real life. Like, how do you guys make all this happen behind the scenes?
And just so you know, when you do come to Trust Movement Only, it's as real as it could be.
Okay.
And we talk about our problems, but it's not the problem, it's how you fix it.
Yeah.
What the solution is. But people don't want to hear that. They think that it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
Everything's supposed to be happy.
I feel like they need this in every city. Like I remember like when I went through just a really dark time and like one of the biggest things was like, what am I going to do in life? And also just like loneliness. And I was always like, I wish there was a group like AA, but like I'm not an alcoholic, like a self-improvement kind of group. Like I feel like they actually need this as like a worldwide like resource that people, because we don't like community, I feel like is so lost and it can be hard to find to just like get real. And
it's
I
more
feel like what you guys have created is it's money and then you have to spend all this money that you might not have. And it's like, this is just such a good idea. Like I'm
all serious. That's why I think pickleball has taken off, right? It's the fastest growing sport in the world.
Sure.
Because it's bringing back guys just, you know, and girls. I shouldn't say guys, but I'm a guy, all guys, two different ones, but that's why I say guys, but it's just bringing like every Wednesday night I play with like, it's like 50 guys on a list and like 10 to 15 show up. And it's the guys just letting out, you know, steam,
have a blast,
battle, but then talking afterwards and we're all bullshitting about the same stuff.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what you're speaking to is just that real life community. Pickleball doesn't cost me money to join. And so many groups bullshit or like, oh, join my community, join this.
Yeah. And that. Online
but
too.
It's
and
backed by, it's $1,000 a month. And you guys aren't putting a price tag on this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Trust Movement Only. There's no charge. Come and join. And like we said, just keep an open mind and you got to take it like it is. Because if you ask a question or if Brad said, you know, I'm picking you, it's on, you know. So
I'm curious.
It's skeptics though, because some people are saying there's got to be, look, I'm a New Yorker. Everyone said, hey, have your guard up. Like they're going to say, there's no way these two people are just doing this all for free. There's got to be an end, like secret that they're doing this for something. Right. So what do you, answer that? Because skeptics are everywhere, especially South Florida.
It's fulfillment. It's fulfillment for me and for Allie.
And of course, like subconsciously or whatever, like connections, like if you're making a difference in other people's lives, like then they're going to raise you up and share your stuff with other people just naturally, not you may need that, you may not.
It happens all the
Just-
time.
yeah.
I did 2 months ago. I did this. I had everybody doing a task, and the next day, literally, I was at the bagel place, and one of the guys that attended the night before, comes over to me and goes, "Hey, real estate. These guys are heavy real estate guys, very successful agents." And he says, "Yo," he goes, "My boss, who was with me, who was a friend of mine, did the task with his people, and he says, I couldn't tell you how effective it was." But let's get back to relationships
Mhm.
because I think I know the work that I have done with my significant other, my fiance, soon to be wife, Alejandra. You know, we have done such intense work throughout the almost 5 years that most people would have walked away. And that's one thing that the connection from the beginning was we just knew about this connection. Not faking it to make it because I was I was still getting divorced, which I'm still going through currently today. And Allie just got divorced a year before. So we were at the stages of our lives that I told her and she told me, "Hey, this is no bullshit." You know what I mean? Should have get off the pot, you know? And you come to the terms, I came and I know she did. I speak for myself that I'm like, listen, this is what I'm looking for. I'm looking for real. I'm looking for honesty. I want transparency. I want, like, I got a tattoo on my arm, a breath of fresh air, Alejandra. Why I got that? Because that's what we created together. That's who she means. That's what she means to me. Of being in a relationship in my past, which I don't really want to talk about, but I was not happy. I was faking it to make it.
Yeah.
I diverted my business for the relationship. Everything was business related, and I suffocated myself in my business. Like my employees would sit there, and I was the first one in, last one out.
Like no work
Yeah.
life balance.
There was no balance at
Yeah.
all, and like now, I mean, it's again, it ate me up alive, and I was the one that would sit there and go, "Happy wife, happy life." I was the biggest asshole for saying that because that's the furthest thing from the truth.
And there's probably a
Because-
quote somewhere I like when people walk, a lot of times you see this all around businesses, all those quotes,
Sure,
you
sure,
see where I'm going with this.
sure, and at the end of the day, but inside, yeah, people would see me. I'm a happy guy anyway, so people would see me, and they whether judging or anything, but most of the people didn't know how miserable I really was because I couldn't do it at work, and that's the majority of my time was at work. But when I met Ali, I learned for myself with my mentors about my needs and my wants and my happiness for myself. And I had to put that first. And if you don't, then you pay the consequences because then you start doing for others and then you're left behind. So me and Ali, literally for close to 5 years, have done that intense type work where she knows me and I know her better than anybody else in this world that know us. You know what I mean? Our connection, and again, it's just it's been
Communication.
When you say work,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you mean like
that's
I know there's like Imago training. Like I don't know if you guys know about that or like
Yes.
therapy. Like what kind of like where you are literally staring each other in the eyes. Like I've like seen people do this, and you're like, what do you not like about me? It's like it gets really intense. Is it like that kind of work? Therapy? What do you mean by work?
sure. It's ongoing. It work. I'm talking about communication. I'm talking about honesty, trust.
Yeah.
I'm talking about being free. Again, my tattoo. You know what I mean? Breath of fresh air. Talking about like my insecurities, my challenges in life are now here in the open on a platter.
On the table.
Being
My-
vulnerable.
Being vulnerable. Thank you, honey. You know what I mean? It all stems down to childhood. And everybody comes from a shit childhood. Sorry to tell you. I can break anybody else. I can break anybody down.
Mhm.
You didn't have the perfect parents. There's no such thing as perfect.
And if you did, then you need to.
I do feel like though, like certain people are just more open, like, and depending on who you're with, like, I feel like it can be easy sometimes to be vulnerable, like, depending on who you're with and who the person.
Sure, that takes
You
time.
know?
I'm not.
You're one of those easy people.
Yeah,
Like, geez, go with the flow, and everyone's willing to just open up to.
I don't know, but I just feel like for me, sometimes I'm like, who cares? Like, if this person doesn't like me, then oh well, like I'm just like,
Next.
if I'm gonna meet, I'm just gonna be open because why would I not? I don't know.
Do you know what your triggers are?
Oh yeah, a little bit. I have some triggers. I work.
I trigger her all.
You-
I'm like, we got to set up this booth. Like, I don't want to do this booth.
Yeah, no. I definitely have like some
Doesn't like to
triggers for sure. Like, yeah, but everyone has triggers.
Right. But being real is actually being vulnerable with the person that you're with and being able to say, hey, baby, you know what? This triggers me. And so
Mhm.
that person gets to know you enough to know what could trigger you, what could take you to another place that could interfere with the relationship, with the moment. So it's that those are the moments that we're talking about being vulnerable.
I guess I just
Talking about
it's
trauma.
natural, and where I'm like, if someone like, if I say that and they're like, no, then I'm like, bye. You know what I mean? Like, if it doesn't, I guess I don't know.
But how did you guys learn this? Because everyone talks about this with relationships, but in the real world, it's not that easy, right? Like
It's
you're
not.
talking about data doesn't lie. Like I'm big into numbers because things are black and white, right? But relationships, a lot harder. You
Sure.
come home after like having a shitty day. Like I built this app and I come home like, oh my God. I was like, you can't believe these emails I got. Like, people are so entitled. Like I'm giving them money and they're bitching, and just like, and I take a breath. I'm like, I'll deal with that tomorrow because I know I'm just like overthinking it right now. And the next day I don't even think about it. And I send a nice email back. I bite my tongue. But in the moment I come home and like she had a long day. Right. And this happens with young children all the time. And like all of a sudden, like you vent and somehow like you're in a fight and you're like, how the hell did this just happen? I had a bad day and she had a bad day and like somehow we're fighting. So like, how do you really practice this? Like get more deep because there's so much fluff on the internet saying, oh, we open up, we're vulnerable. But like, how do you practice this to the point of like, is it going to therapy? Is it going to meditation together? Now you see sex therapists. I was at TEDx Boca Raton and the number one, what was her title? She's a doctor.
Oh, the doctor, like sex fairy or something.
Sex fairy. But like she talks about like the vulnerability on that side, male versus female, right? And it's hard to open up and practice what you're speaking about. So dive deeper. Like, how are you guys practicing this in the real world?
I'll give you an example, Jay. So, for instance, your work, right? Communication with your significant other, your wife, right? Going home, sitting her down and saying, listen, honey, I need 15, 20 minutes by myself with no distractions, with nothing around, so I can be at peace, so I don't bring this negativity to my household because it becomes a negative hurricane. The kids get disrupted. Now all of a sudden you don't have a clear head. And that was my expertise back then was exactly what you're talking about. Go home and it would be, I got 3 kids. It was chaotic. Kids didn't do nothing wrong, but be kids. And because I had a bad day, I bring it to the household. Didn't have my time, didn't have my thinking, hey, what do I need to fix this? I went in with, literally with, 2 boxing gloves. Let's go at it. So my suggestion to anybody, if they're having a bad day, good day, it doesn't matter. Communicating with your significant other. Go home. All you gotta do is say it once, and say, hey, listen, when I come home, I need 15, 20 minutes and just give me my space so I can unwind, so I can be there for my children, not be present, but really be present for my children. You know what I mean? And be aware and see how that works out. And if she says the same thing, well, I need my space and I need my time, it's communicating amongst each other for it to be a more peaceful situation, no matter what. And I'll be honest with you, Jason, I don't, because of my childhood growing up, I've seen a lot of, came to business. I do everything in my power not to bring business home because at the end of the day, my significant other isn't there at work with me to see what I'm going through or who I'm dealing with. So I learned my lesson years ago when it happened to be one of our senior managers. I came home, and this is before Ali. This is when I was married, and I just laid into him with my ex-wife at the time. She was my wife, and I just laid in talking about him. And guess what happened? The guy's still working with me. He's been with me for 16 years,
Yeah.
but she hated him.
Yeah. She did.
She couldn't.
It was a moment, and then you over.
She,
Guys could be guys. Go to the bar after,
Yep.
have a drink,
yep.
and you're like, "Oh, that wasn't as bad as it was. I was just venting to you."
I was venting
She
out,
took the venting serious, and then it turned into
and she couldn't
killing
stand
the
it.
relationship. Then when she
Right.
goes to a holiday party,
Exactly.
she turns the other way, and you're like, "Oh wait, this is awkward because I vented."
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
I understand.
just again, what when you just have to communicate about your needs and your wants.
So, Ali,
You know?
how do you handle that though? Because he comes home, you haven't seen him all day, right? And you just want to, talk to him because you've had a day and you just can't wait to have a conversation. So, like, what happens when he goes, and he kind of pushes you off a little bit and says, I need 15, 20 minutes. Like, how do you handle that?
First of all, I want to say that there's a book that I wrote. There is a chapter that talks exactly how I met Brad and what it is to have a healthy relationship. But to answer your question, how do you deal with that? Is understanding that not only you had a bad day or a good day or however it was your day, your partner had the same thing. And neither one of you know each other's date. So you guys have to find the place and the time to do it. So one of the things that work for us is the commitment to understand that this company comes first, right? The one that we go out there to make the money is to make money, but this is the company that we're working for.
Amen.
So what does that mean? Like for us, we have a date day. Did I say that right?
So every week you have a
Date night, date night.
That is correct.
Yeah,
Yeah.
either one.
Or it's just you guys.
It's just us. It's just me and Brad, and we do what we do, right? It doesn't mean that the other 6 days we don't talk and we don't communicate. What we do is we get up early, we live in the intercoastal, we sit outside, and that's our time to communicate. Right before our date starts, hey, babe, what are your plans for the day? Or how was your day yesterday? Or it's just communication. You have to learn how to communicate.
So if I'm gonna let's go through a scenario. If I'm coming home, because Jason was saying I'm coming home and you had a bad day, and let's say this particular, we both had a bad day, and I'm coming home and I said, babe, I need my 10, 15 minutes, but you really don't want to hear that.
Correct.
Understand?
That's the most common thing. Like,
really don't want to hear that. You're like, fuck you. I had a bad day too, motherfucker. Like,
comes a war. Yeah.
I'm allowed to say those words,
You
right?
sure
We're
can.
good. So you're like, yo, I had a bad day too. What about fucking me? You know what I mean? So how do you deal with that? And that's what Jason was asking. How do you deal with that? If I came home and did that, and which we do,
because that's the real life. Like,
Right.
real life, that's the most common thing.
Right.
5 days a week, people have a shitty day at work. They drive in traffic for an hour. Maybe they live in Boca. They came from Fort Lauderdale, and they're like, I just sat an hour traffic, just made money all day to put food on the table. And I get home, and the reason why divorce rates are so high is they just like, I just need a darn break. It's like the breakup with Jennifer Aniston.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he's like, I just want to play my video games when I get home.
right.
Right. And that's the real point of that movie.
It's very easy.
Let's see.
No communication.
I want to see if
Each other. They did love each other. That was the point of the
It's like commitment.
But here's the word. But here's if she's ready to say it. Here's the word that boils down to all of it.
It's connection.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, am I looking when you argue and when you come home from a stressful day and I'm stressful, and then we're both arguing, are we connecting in that moment or are we separating from each other? So it's being vulnerable to say, babe, I just need my time. Give me 5-10 minutes. Then I'll come and do whatever you need me to do. And then the other person to understand. It's understanding each
Yeah,
other.
that doesn't seem like too much to ask.
It's
But
it's easier to fight because I have to get it out with somebody. So now I just pick.
And
It's also a mental state though.
and it's respect.
Like you're in the wrong
Yeah.
state and like things bother you. So like you asked her earlier about triggers. I've seen with my co-host here that like there's certain times I could just sense like if I say something she's triggered,
yeah.
like she's going to take it a different direction. Where if she had a Starbucks, she's not triggered at all. Right. And same thing with my wife. When I get home, I could just tell like I got to tread lightly. Right. Like I know that like even though I'm in a bad mood, like don't go there. Where other times I could say the same sentence. One way it's taken like it's laughter. The next it's like you F an asshole. Right. You understand where I'm coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
And you got to read the room.
You have to. You have to
it's
know. Brad knows.
respect. Respect
Mm.
is a very powerful word in a relationship. If you don't respect one another, you got nothing. Plain that simple.
And how many kids like at the
5
so, like
altogether.
everyone understanding, and what's the ages?
From
Can't throw curveballs at all.
27, 23. We got twins that are 19 and a 13-year-old. So, well, we deal with again. It's communicating. It's really communicating in a positive way. Listen, life isn't easy. No one said it was easy, but shit happens. And again, it's about really not having. I see this and I hear it all the time. And the guys. Yeah, I'm a guy's guy. Got the women on the other side. And the women are independent, but they want a king in their life.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, what does that mean? You want to be independent, but you want
I can
also,
tell you what it means.
yeah.
You
Let me-
go,
let
and
me
then
hear.
he goes next.
Let's go. Let me hear
So we
this.
see different generations. I like to hear this.
I just see it as when I say independent, I don't mean like alone. I just mean
No.
I just mean you're both confident and you both have, I think it's really healthy to both like have your own interests and then still be able to like come together. Like you both have your own lives. It's important to have your own friends, your own things, but then you still collaborate and you come together and you are one, but just like when one person is like super needy and jealous and like annoying and the other person like does that
Well, okay. So
I just want to say
what I
one
mean
thing.
by that.
I just want to say one thing, which is huge, huge. And if you can take one thing today, should be this: get to know your partner.
Yeah.
Brad, I can get up and within 30 seconds, he can know if I had a bad dream. He can know if I'm getting up in my left with my left foot. I mean, it gets down to that. And why is that so important? Because at the end of the day, you can come home and you can look at your partner and you can tell without your partner saying one word, you can tell if they had a good day, if they had a bad day. So if they had a bad day and you're looking to connect with your partner, then you know what to do. If you guys been together and you know each other, you know what to do to put a smile on your partner. If your partner is coming home happy, then you just continue with the happiness. If your husband comes home and he had a fucked up day, then you know what? Then you say, baby, dinner is ready, and you treat him like the king, like exactly where Brad is
Also,
going to go.
Your daughter's in the room here, but it also comes back to the physical side, right? Because so often it's like a male, that's what they want, right? Let's not make
Simple.
this more complicated than it is. It's just like, I don't want to talk. I just want physical activity and go to bed. And I know it's so simple, but that is so hard sometimes because, males and females look at that differently. And I want Brad's answer on this because he was going to go right before Ellie.
Babe, share the story about listening, about hearing.
about listening and hearing.
The last fight that we had about hearing, I think this is huge.
Yeah, well, I mean that I don't know if we have enough time for all this, but there was a point in our relationship where because of Ali and my childhood and her childhood, and that can go on for the next five hours talking about childhood.
Call him on Owwll to learn about his childhood.
There you go. So with Ali's childhood, she was born in Venezuela, came to America at 12 years old. That in itself is holy shit.
Oh, you and Steph
Yeah.
have that? Our producer,
Yeah.
Steph, came from Venezuela.
Yeah, you go from a third world country into America. That in itself is a challenge.
Baby, listen to me. Talk about listening.
Yes. So
Back to the king. Back to the king.
so,
Anyway,
so through our relationship, and you get into these negative hurricanes. We got into this deep conversation, and Ali checked out, and it was my job as being her significant other, and that I love her and I care about her. It was my job to overcome that checkout and check her back in. And going through this process and talking it through about her needs and wants, about my needs and wants, about her challenges, the first thing that came out is she just wants to be heard. Because of my role, I I was like, wow. And no ego, put the ego aside. This is the love of my life. There's a woman that I'm gonna die with. And I was like, wow, she's 100% right. I don't hear her. I don't listen to what she's saying, and I had to take 10 steps back and respect her wishes. And so for now, because I could be on the phone with 20 different people and doing deals and doing what I'm doing. But when we're together and we could be having a conversation and I get distracted, I got to do my work, talk about work, and say, hold on, time out. What's more important? This stupid deal or my significant other that I cherish and that I have the best times of my life with? So what happens is I stop and I said, babe, I apologize. I was not listening. I did not hear you at that
I heard
point.
the word apologize. That's very important thing.
100%.
Admitting to be able to apologize.
You have to.
You're
I am good at that.
I
'Cause I'm married.
admitting when you're
20
wrong and
Been
then,
with my wife for 20 years, but about 12 married. But you learn to apologize, and a lot of people
Sure.
aren't. They're stubborn, and that stubbornness causes
I,
breakups.
people that like
I know when I
admit
mess
they're
her up.
wrong,
I text her the next day, like, sorry, I was hard on you.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
know at the event, like, she triggers me.
yeah.
There are certain things that always trigger me, and she knows it. Like, we're at an event setting up, and it's the stupidest thing. It's like putting microphones and taking stuff out of the bag. And I'm like, let me do it. And she's like, you're better at that. And I'm always like, that triggers me because I'm like, you got to learn to do it. Right. You can't always rely on me because I'm not always going to be at every event. And I know she could do it. So it's a trigger. And then somehow we have silly, stupid arguments, hosting a booth at like TEDx. So then I'll say, I'm sorry, I was a little hard on you over like putting up a banner, like something.
But do you explain yourself?
Same thing in a relation, like my.
But it's the same thing. You guys have a relationship, but do you explain why? Like you just explained it pretty. Hey, listen. At the end of the day, he might not be there, so you got to get used to doing this. You know what I mean? Because when he's not there, it got to get done, right? So that's where
And it does get done always when the person's not there. So it comes back to parenting with children as well. But I would like to address one thing. How do you deal with the money element, what you were just speaking about? Because you've sold multiple businesses and you don't have to work another day of your life, right? Like I know that from the last podcast when you joined us and the businesses that you've exited, because a lot of it's been public, and people get a grasp, of net worth based on boats, houses, cars, right? So the one thing to address is like, a lot of people listening are saying, yeah, that's nice because he could just take a pause and not take that phone call for the deal, right? Because when you were in your 20s, 30s, you're like, babe, I got to take this. And I've been there. I've been in a hotel room with my family and said, this is $100,000 commission life insurance case, which is a true story. I got to take this. And my wife's like, yeah, you better fucking take that.
Right.
Get the hell out of here.
Right.
Right. And, so my point is like, how do you address to the people? Because 99% of people aren't in your shoes that can afford to not take that call, I guess. And I'm not, obviously it's different. The person's always addicted to taking the calls versus like a couple times. So like, how do you address the money element to other people you're coaching?
I just want to answer that really quick because at the end of the day, it's again, communication. And I know everybody hears this word, but what does it really mean? If Brad tells me, Ali, today it's going to be a busy day or I have to get this call,
Sure.
Then it's like, pause with what you're saying or babe, can you give me a few minutes? I do want to, it's important for me.
Yeah.
What you're about to tell me, even if it's what are we having for dinner. But that word right there is important for me to hear what you have to say, makes me feel like, babe, go do what you have to do. But the problem with women is when we feel that we're secondary.
Yeah.
Right? The reality is that, we are the ones to take care of ourselves. And like you're saying, be individuals and take care of yourself that way. But yes, when you have your partner at the end of the day, is that communication of, babe, I know you have something to tell me. Just bear with me 1 second. Do you mind if I get this call? Because it is important. Then I feel like I'm included and I'm not being executed.
And I want to talk about one other elephant in the room, kids. Right? Because kids, females, males look at it differently. I'm sure Brad's more like me. It's like, I was raised with an entrepreneur father in New York City, and he would drag me to New York City, wouldn't let me buy anything. It was always bringing him to the garage sales, flea markets, buy stuff for the store, and like I was a little sales guy in the back of his store. And I knew I couldn't go to my dad to get anything. He would let me get like a Diet Coke at the restaurant or appetizers, but I knew through my mom when I would go to dinner, like she would let me get that appetizer and the Diet Coke.
Sure.
Or like when I went to the baseball cards back in the day, it's like mom would let me buy a pack of baseball cards. So, how do you address like the parenting? Because most relationships fall apart because different parenting styles, right? It's like one person is, making sure that their child gets everything. And we see that a lot today due to Amazon, right?
Mm.
It's like I got to pick one button and buy my children absolutely everything. And it's very cheap to move these days as well. TJ Maxx, right? And you have the other parent that's like, babe, do we need this shit? Right. So like, how do you address, the parenting style? Because parenting style often leads to divorce, right? Because
So we have
entitled children,
we
right?
have 5 kids altogether. And babe, why don't we just talk about Daniela, which is the one that is at the house right now, and we both get to parent her. And she's at an age right now where a lot of parents can be like, "Oh, this is a tough age." And
She's 13. Yeah.
and our other 4 kids were blessed that they're amazing in every single way.
Yeah, they're all right.
But when it comes to Daniela, even though Brad is not her dad, I make sure she understands that he's the man of the house.
Sure.
Respect. It's important, especially like these days.
It's so simple because, see, we grew up different than you, Jason. That
I'm on the
my,
edge. I'm on the edge. I'm the Malay. I'm 40. Edge of the Earth group.
well, my mom was the patriarch of the family because her father, or my grandfather, was the patriarch. That's where the money was, right? And so we grew up. She had 4 boys. I got 3 brothers, and it was just not a typical normal household where the father, had to say. The mother, my mom, was the one that wore the pants and the dress in the household. So that was challenges, throughout our lives, and it really affected us through our adulthood. And so when you ask something like that about two different parenting styles, you know, people do that because of their childhood. They do it out of insecurities. They do it out of guilt. They buy the kid everything because they're disconnected. They're disconnected in a relationship. Well, let's talk about men that have plenty of money that buy their kids everything,
Sure.
but they're not present for their kids, right?
You see that a lot.
Yeah, you see that a tremendous amount.
And then you see it on social media, like it's all good, and you're like, like
Yeah,
not
yeah.
buying it.
Yeah. So there's always, behind the closed doors, there's always stuff behind it. And I work with a lot of guys that have that similarity in the child. They say, well, what does my kid rebel from it? Why does he do? And I'm like, well, listen, let's do some work and, get to solve this problem because it's not good. My kids, were they fortunate that they grew up in holy, shit? But one thing about all my children, they all got amazing hearts. None of them are menaces to society, and they're just good human beings. That to me, I put that in front of everything. They don't have to be multimillionaires. They don't have to be a professional football player. They don't have to be an actress or a singer or whatever the case may be. But as long as to me, the first and foremost, when I taught them since birth about respect, when they shake a person's hand, they look in their eyes. You know what I mean? So that to me was the nucleus. Everything else comes secondary. I teach my kids about respect. Am I the perfect father? Fuck no. You know what I mean? I got
Show me one.
Yeah, show me one is right. My daughter, we had, and again, me and her disconnected after the divorce, after I left the house. And I can tell you now, she's 19, she's doing therapy. And our relationship in the last year has been better than it's ever been because we communicate with each other. It's not that she has to, because to me, I called out her bullshit because it goes into a whole song and dance, but she would only call me up when she needed something. And I told her that doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? That and listen, we need to communicate, and I'm going to explain to you why this doesn't work for me. I don't deserve this. And if you truly want a relationship with me, that's going to stop. You know what I mean? Certain things like that, you got to put your boundaries up. You just got to
You
communicate.
got to speak up. And
That'll translate over to her other relationships too,
100%.
which is an important lesson for her to
Yeah.
learn. Like if it's in business or when she gets a boyfriend or whatever it is,
Mhm.
like
And the same
Yeah.
way goes that we're talking about relationship, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with your wife, it has to be with your kids too. Sometimes we fall into like, oh, because I'm the mom, you got to do what I say.
That's
And that I did that with my older daughter, and it created problems because I never got to hear her. And that's the patterns that I created with her. When at the end, with my little one doing, when we say doing the work, is doing therapy. It's actually digging in on why am I acting like this? Why am I thinking like this? Why am I, passing those trauma into my own kids? Okay. So when you get to actually find out why you do what you do, then it becomes your choice, right? Do I want to continue doing it like this or do I want to change it? So now I actually get to hear my daughter, because if we only hear them, only if you knew how much you could learn from them. But the problem is that we fall into this, oh, because I'm the mom, you got to listen to me. Well, sometimes they need to be heard too.
Mhm.
that's it.
Well, it's that time of the show.
Let's go.
Going an hour, so we're going to do it very quick. We're going to show the audience the Owwll app real quick and do a live call. And then after that, the final segment of the show is the bet, which we don't tell our audience about until the way in. So everyone out there looking at the TV, these are all the experts available. I see some live. I'm going to call someone who's been in a relationship with his spouse for a long time. He helps people get over addictions.
and he's a counselor.
A counselor. So we're going to call EA in to the show. Everyone's
he
seeing
gets
that's
what
EA.
you guys are
And
putting.
there he goes.
Go.
Hello, Eric Allen. We're talking about relationships today. Can you just tell us how long you've been married and what is the trick to staying married and keeping things rolling in the right directions with your relationship? Because
I feel like that's a loaded question.
I know.
So for me, man, I've been married, 15 years. I've been knowing my wife since little kid school. We've actually been at this for a while. We have 2 children, a 27-year-old and an 18-year-old, right? And the secret sauce is never going to bed upset. No matter what the situation is, we have to figure out a way to talk it out. Communication is number one in any relationship, especially a marriage. So you gotta be willing to communicate no matter what, and you gotta tell your truth, whatever that truth may be.
Amen.
Being vulnerable.
Exactly what they were just talking about the entire episode. Literally, you hit the word on, the nail on the hammer. Right, literally perfect. Well, Eric, thank you for joining us. Because we're having some audio issues, we're going to end this call a little earlier than usual. Thank you, Eric.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Later.
Listen, it's understanding that it's a commitment. That's a word that people don't understand nowadays. It's a commitment. If I have a chair that has 4 legs, I'm committed to it because it's a good chair for me. And what I'm saying, what we were talking about earlier is
Not one leg.
it's not a 1 leg. It needs to be a 4 leg. And when you do have that 4 leg, then you are committed. Committed. That means no matter what, I'm here for you.
Most
For
people
us.
just stay stagnant. Most people don't want change.
And that's
Most people make excuses up to stay in the relationship.
Or to-
And
I've
and
had to
again-
like cut people off because it's not just romantic, but like if you try with someone, you try and you're like, let's go to therapy or let's grow and they just like aren't willing and you try all these things, sometimes you just have to cut them off.
that's
That's
it.
it.
Those are signs right there. So
Yeah.
if God gives you signs and
Yeah.
you don't take them, that's on you.
Yeah. And I think it's important to not like stay in those relationships and like just, because it's
Yeah. Well, what
There's money involved with that.
what are you like?
marriage
Coming from
like any relationship where like when you've tried everything in the book, it's important to communicate. You guys are both committed to growth and you're in this, but when you have one in it and one not, that
And it doesn't work.
yeah.
How many people do you know that can't stand going to their jobs every day?
More people than
Yeah.
than
It's
do.
amazing, isn't it? And I look at them and says, well, what are you doing? Well, I got no choice. Sure you do.
It's a lie.
Same thing with relationships.
Yeah.
You have choices. You meet somebody, woman could be beautiful on the outside and sanitation on the inside. What is that? You know, I go to Vegas 6, 7 times. We go to Vegas 6, 7 times a year. How many times you see that wealthy guy that's in the 60s, 70s with a dime piece next to him that's in their 20s and 30s? Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's how shallow.
It's not real.
That's
Yeah.
how, but that's how shallow people
That might
can
be an
get.
escort, though.
Yeah, well, you escrow, but you know, of course, most likely. But you see, and again, I got guys that I know that are in their early 60s and they were 30. You know, and I'm like, what do you have in common? And you just can tell. You just see it. You know, at the end of the day, you know what she's there for, and he's good. You know, and again, you know, it's
Whatever.
well, you,
Maybe he doesn't want to grow. Right? He's comfortable where he's at, or what?
comfortable. I mean, there's no such thing.
Comfortable.
Yeah, to me, like I said, being comfortable and but are you happy?
That's what I mean.
Like-
There's a difference between comfortable and really getting into your soul, like that growth. And some people go their whole lives and they never experience
100%.
that. And that's
Well,
sad.
social media
that's
sad.
a journey.
also
you know?
making people believe like it's always greener on the other side.
Sure.
You see all the photos on social media, and everyone's like, "Well, I could just quit one relationship to the next," but it takes work and staying committed to trying. And you're mentioning like communicating. It's like it's not just going to fix itself like another job, right? No, like most jobs are the same. It's
The
people.
grass is greener where you water it.
Correct, and I like
That's
that quote
it.
for that reason. And
That's going to be her walk.
relationships.
It's another.
I like that one. I like that one.
It's another part you don't know about. But we have everyone's.
Listen, one of the questions that I ask myself every day, because not only you have to do work together, you have to do your work individual.
Sure.
One question that I ask myself, not only for my relationship, but for myself is, how can I make my relationship more exciting for me today? So I'm not putting the work into Brad. I'm not expecting him to come home and make my day better. I'm not expecting him to come home and make me smile. I'm doing the work myself. So how can I make my relationship more exciting to me? So now my mind is thinking, ooh, what can I do?
That's what I mean about the independent thing. Like totally is like you're both individually working on yourselves. Like, you know,
You have
independent.
to.
So you can then come together and have this amazing
Too many
like,
people are seeking external sources.
spark. Maybe I need a different word for it.
Right.
Yeah, you
That's-
mean like alcohol, drugs, and
but also
Yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
They're like, oh, if I just meet the 6'5" blue eyes,
Yeah.
finding the sky, right? Like,
Is he talking about you, Ellie?
like, no, that's of course, the viral TikTok going around.
Yeah.
But it's like everyone thinks like if that happens, it's all going to work itself out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, who are you? Are you putting the work yourself?
But that asshole's going to
person.
come in the door and then not speak.
You'll get
to you,
bored in
and
2 seconds.
and then you're not going to have a good relationship because you don't
Yeah.
put the work. So it's like what I see is just like everything takes work and everything else is there's a lot of bullshit going on. And it's like it takes communication, it takes hard work and effort, not just always throwing in the towel. Because what I see is like my first job, throwing the towel, next job, throwing the towel. Then it's the same thing with relationships.
absolutely.
You know, and that's where like, hey, you know, that individual's better for me. Maybe it's this, and everyone
That's because you don't know your triggers. And you're
everyone listens
expecting
to so
that.
much bullshit on the internet, you know, by non-experts. And they're like, maybe they're right, right? Because you go down the rabbit hole of TikTok.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a second, you know.
Yeah. Well, you want a smart guy? Are you smart enough? Are you want a good looking guy? Are you doing the work to look good? You whatever it is that you're looking at there, make sure you look at yourself in the mirror first.
That's right.
Okay, it's our favorite part of the show, and everyone listening, this part of the show is where we place a bet with the guests, and the guests pretty much don't see it coming because we don't talk about it pre-episode.
Gotta go.
And Allie's up on the big screen, so everyone listening, you want to talk
Like,
to
wait, is that you? You have
Yeah.
different hair.
I know I was blonde. I was blonde.
make sure to hit.
Did he pick the wrong person by
I know
accident?
you kept looking up. I was like, that's her.
What is happening?
Follow her, and you will get a notification when she makes herself available. And Brad's going to be on Owwll shortly as an expert as well. Brad Cohen, and follow him as well. So
Maybe.
this part of the episode, Ellie and me are going to place a bet with you, and it's going to correlate over to the Owwll app. And if you win the bet, you're a gambler. You go to Vegas all the time. You win the bet, you get something from us. You lose the bet, we get something from you.
Let's go.
Okay, so
Woo.
Ellie, what is the bet? And let's make them both do it, right? So let's make them tag team doing something on Owwll. They love giving back, and it's
You
nothing.
guys like Mondays? Are you free Mondays? Are you busy Mondays? Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
We
So you'll
Put a bet in front of
Yeah.
us.
you picked the wrong people. By the way, I have to say that
I'm a gambler. I play a lot of poker. This bet
Let's
could
go.
get big. I like this.
by
Let's
the
go.
way, no excuses. I know Jason for a minute since he opened the app, since he created the app. I've been very busy going to school to get my life coaching, building my relationship. There are no excuses. There's no excuses, but I love the app. Thank you, Jason, because it is definitely, I use it when it comes to my life coaching. Now that I have my office now it's coming into work strong. So thank you.
Good stuff.
You're welcome.
Well, you'll love this then. So this is
Oh boy.
basically you're talking about mentorship and giving back. So every Monday on the app, we have something called Mentorship Mondays, where we have people lower. What did you say? Yeah,
Oh,
you know about it already. Oh, okay. So
You can change your price because you put a limit. You got to take 10
yeah,
calls
you
before
have to take 10 calls.
before
Exactly.
you can alter your price so you kind of understand the platform a little.
So basically, I'm going to challenge you to get on the app this coming Monday and go live on Mentorship Monday. I'm going to say for 2 hours. So it's usually in the
Engage.
mornings, right?
It's the whole day, so it really doesn't matter. Take 2
that-
hours per day.
2 hour? Whoa.
Yeah,
Slow.
you're just giving back.
Just listen,
It's a
listen.
big
Okay,
bet.
let me hear the whole thing.
How it works. It's not like you're constantly on the phone for
Okay.
2 hours. What I mean is going live for 2 hours
Yeah, it just
means
means like this.
you're
You hit a button like this, and you literally hit 2 hours. Now,
it doesn't mean
By
that
the
you're
way,
occupied for
don't
2
hit 2 hours. Hit that you're gonna be on the app for 15 minutes. So every 15 minutes, you actually get to other people can get to
Refresh.
see that you're live.
If you're
That you're
live.
live.
pings notifications.
smart.
Oh, she knows
See, I know the
But-
tools.
I'm just gonna say you have to each take, let's say 3 calls each.
3
So
calls minimum.
That's 6 total. So
10 minutes
How
minimum
long do you want
call,
to
so that's
go
30
live?
minutes of talk.
All right. So if we do that, what do we
30
get?
minutes. So
That's-
this is up to you. So
It's up to
you could get. I know you've been on a
You
lot.
get
of
Ellie to sing at your next event. She's a good singer. She charges a lot of money.
Okay, well,
I don't know. I'm throwing things out. I'm just giving you her.
that works.
Jada's
You could.
just ponder off.
But you said she drops the microphone, so
You could.
Not good at setting up.
No. I'm good at setting up
Good
my
at
own equipment. My own.
Doesn't like setting up my.
Is different. I do it. I'm just slow, and then I'll help you. And you're like, you got to get good at this. I'm trying my best. Okay, but
She says
anyway,
you do it.
so let's see. You could. I know you've been on a lot of podcasts, but have you had your own show? You could come and rent, aka get our studio for free. Do your own episode in this studio. We'll give it to you. Put your own logo up here.
Sure, one of you.
You could,
One
both of
or the
you,
other.
one. What else you could get? I know you were talking about the merch. You get some free swag from us. Do a Zoom with some of our people. So, we'll bring our
Oh yeah, we
our
could bring them.
community.
We could launch
to
that. We're
you.
gonna bring our event to your home, which is
so
Yeah.
and invite our community
Yeah.
to come to one of your events.
Yeah.
And I will come, and so will Ellie, to also join and say a few words as well. And we'll try to bring more of
do
our
an
community
event
there.
There you
together.
go.
Yeah.
Get
Let's
going.
go. I like it.
So
Okay.
you guys decide either.
Yeah, you guys
If
got
you
to
wanna
decide what
think
you
about
want.
it, you
If
can.
win the bet, you get something that we just said.
so just to make sure, it's 3 calls that we each got to
Yeah, you're going to make yourself available
So you
for
have
2 hours.
profile.
And obviously calls come in at
It's
random.
up
Like
with
these people are available, but not getting calls.
right.
And then a minimum of 3 calls.
that's
So it'll be
really 10
30
minutes,
minutes
30
each.
minutes.
Obviously, if you're having a good conversation, you're going to talk to them more than 10 minutes.
Is there anybody want to talk?
Oh, yeah, they'll call you directly. So all
So
these
you
people,
go-
I'm talking about for this show right now.
not
the
the show
podcast.
because we're doing outbound calls on this show versus inbound.
I got you.
The inbound is a little harder because we're live on the air. We've done them where we stage it where you have to have a setup. Like you reach out to your audience, say, I'm going to be doing a call
I got you.
for 2-3 hours. And then we come into the studio and pretty much your audience already knows like that's the only way to get in touch with you to get on the show. So that's how
Got
we
it.
kind of should have outbound inbound. We used to try inbound on it. It didn't work because we're live and no one's calling. And then we're like,
But
okay.
most likely you guys will get calls, but for some reason, if you're like, I'm not getting calls, then let's just make it like
3 calls.
you have
max.
to
They-
call someone else like
Okay,
that.
yeah.
So if you don't get the
Three
call, you find someone on there, you
Yeah,
can
listen.
search that you want to talk to, boom,
Done.
give them a call.
Let's
They're
do it.
$1, so this is easy.
Let's do it.
Okay,
3.
3,
Gotcha.
3.
And not only
Inbound, outbound.
Yes.
Inbound, outbound. You'll help them.
not only will we
I'll
commit
do
to
it on
that.
hers.
No, you got to do it.
Wow.
No, I'll download it in your phone. Don't worry.
Okay.
It's simple. It's simple.
Yes, and not only we'll commit to that, we'll commit to sharing our app with all of our followers and make sure they
Oh.
understand how good it is. Because once they have it, they're going to continue using it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Awesome.
So if they lose?
Yeah. What
What
do
do
we
we
get?
get? What do you want?
Brad's got a nice boat. We go on a boat ride.
There you go.
I don't know. What do you?
I don't know.
I would like an introduction if you lose to some of your closest contacts for an investor for Owwll. So of course, right now, we're of course looking to expand this to millions of people to make impact. And you know that, you need money to make money, right?
Sure.
So you have some close contacts. I've seen your events. I have a lot of contacts too, but it's the right person that really feels the impact.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about the margins of the app right now. Like this app obviously is live. It's going to take someone that says, hey, this is going to make such an impact because of relationships. And it's not going to be like, let me see your pitch deck. Let me see your data.
Smart.
So I would like just one solid introduction to someone who you think would like this, not 100, just that one person, just like a cell phone text message or an email and said, I want you two to talk.
Okay.
And that's if
Done.
you lose.
Done deal.
Deal.
So if we do both, can we get a sweater?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Baby, you got to
We
negotiate.
can do it.
Negotiate.
We're coming to your house. We're coming to your house. So we're going to
Next week.
This is all happening on Monday. By the time you win, we're at your house next week.
Let's go.
Let's go.
What's,
Yeah, so
what's the
deal
date?
with me.
No, thank you guys for having us, man. This is real pleasurable. I enjoy it.
I think everyone learned a little something today. So.
Okay, well,
No, there's a lot more to come.
for joining us on the podcast. Everyone listening, just go to her profile, click her Instagram account, her website, and then, of course, follow her on all her socials. And we'll tag everyone in the podcast links as well. Take care, everybody.
Ciao.
Ciao.
God bless.
Post-production for the Owwll podcast is done with care by Ocean Tree Creative.